Good morning and welcome to part 5 of Allotment Diaries. You join me here on my allotment today. It's very cold but also lovely and bright. In today's episode, I'll be sharing with you the last seeds that I'm going to be sowing this year. One is an ornamental to look forward to in the summer. One is some food to eat in the spring, and then we've got one that we'll be eating in about 3 to 4 weeks, so something nice for the new year. I'm going to start by showing you some of the first things that I do when I get to my allotment. After hanging up my keys, you only make the mistake of losing your key once in an allotment. I grab a bucket and do what I call a 2-minute stone clear. So while stones aren't a bad thing because they help with great drainage, my allotment doesn't need too much help with this. It's very stony, it's on chalk, and I'm also on the top of a hill. So drainage really isn't an issue for me. Plus, I like to reuse and repurpose things where I can, and these stones are great for making paths and seating areas. Some other things I reuse, for example, are drinks bottles for pole toppers. This stops me from poking my eyes out when I'm tending to plants that need staking. And even my table is made from beer crates and cut down wooden pallets. But it's not always for practical purposes though. I was inspired by the rusty metal sculptures at Derek Jarman's house in Dungeness. And I added some of my own sculptures to add a bit of interest to the allotment. Both my greenhouses also had another life before they came to my allotment. A friend of a friend was getting rid of them, and I couldn't help but say yes. I also use lolly sticks for seed markers. These are much better than using plastic because as they break down, they just compost into the soil. And I also use toilet roll cores for seed sowing. These are brilliant for a number of reasons. Firstly, they're free. Secondly, the seedlings can be planted directly into the soil where the cardboard will just break down, and there's no root disturbance either. And especially important for the seeds that I'm sowing today, they give the seedlings a long root run. Because today I will be sowing the last vegetables of the year, the legumes, otherwise known as peas and beans. I'm starting off with sweet peas. Got a little visitor. Yes, they are inedible, but they're worth growing simply for their heady scent and the cut flowers for the house. Sweet peas can be sown at any time between October and April, but the best times to aim for are late autumn or for an early spring sowing. Some books will tell you to soak the seed overnight and carefully chip some of the seed coating off with a knife. Now, I've never had any problems with germination by simply using this method of filling a toilet roll core with peat-free compost, lightly watering the surface, and then placing 2 seeds in each toilet roll core. Then I'll lightly cover with compost and put them in a bright, warm place, just like a windowsill, and then they'll germinate just fine. Just make sure you come back later in the year to see how they get on and what I'll be doing for the biggest and best blooms. Next up are the broad beans. This variety is called Aquadolce and is especially for autumn sowing. I use the same method as the sweet peas, but I sow just 1 bean per toilet roll. And as the seeds are big, I'll push them down further and cover with soil. A good rule of thumb when sowing seed is to sow the seed an equal depth to its size. So the bigger the seed, the more soil on top. I've also prepared a patch of ground and I'll be sowing these outside. Over the years, whilst preparing ground to sow on and plant on, I've found lots of interesting things, and I thought you might be interested to see some of them too. I refer to these things as my treasures, in inverted commas. Many, many years ago, the land where my allotment was used to graze cattle, and there was also a farm. It wasn't until World War II and the Dig for Victory campaign that some of the land was taken over for allotments, and that's where I'm standing now. So there's a lot of history to this land where I'm on, this area. And over the past, I've dug up sea fossils, many clay pipes, a 1914 penny, lots of broken pottery, but my favourite has to be this button. It's got a floral design on the front, and the words on the back read treble rich standard, which, after doing a little bit of research, I understand that it either means that it was dipped in gold 3 times, or it's just like a little saying on the back, and it possibly dates to the mid-1850s. So back to seed sowing, and the last ones going in here are peas, but not for their pea pods. I'm growing these for their shoots, and I should be able to eat them in about 3 to 4 weeks. They're so easy to do. A pot of peat-free compost, quick water over the surface, then sprinkle the seeds quite thickly because they're not going to grow to full maturity. Then cover the seeds with soil, place them in a bright, warm place. You can put them with the sweet peas while they germinate too. And then in about 3 to 4 weeks, so in the new year, I can eat these. I'll add them to risottos as a tasty garnish. You can put them onto soups and also into winter salads. And as the name suggests, they taste just like sweet, freshly podded peas. A quick recap on what's happened over the last month. As part of the Royal Voluntary Service's Stay Well and Warm campaign in partnership with Yakult, I challenged Dominic Franks from Dom in the Kitchen to create a recipe based on seasonal produce from my allotment. And he came up with the most delicious leek, potato and chard quiche. And it had this really tasty herby short crust base, which just made it, and blue cheese as well. Oh, it was divine. So we cooked it live on the virtual village hall, but don't worry if you missed it, because you can watch it again. We've put a link in the video notes, so you can replay it at any time you want. In the greenhouse, the scented pelargonium cuttings that I took in early autumn are looking good. You can just see the roots poking through the bottom, and there's been lots of new growth, which shows me that they've taken well. I'll keep them frost-free in the greenhouse until it's a bit warmer, when the frosts are all gone, and then I can plant these back out into containers, ready for some summer displays. If you're growing chilies and they're still hanging on despite the snows and the frost that we've had, then they might be looking a little bit odd. The change in temperature can cause the sugar content in the fruit to increase, which can turn the skin dark brown or black. But as long as they're not squishy, you'll know just by giving them a little feel, then you'll know that they've not gone bad. It's just a pigment thing, and they're absolutely fine to eat. They may still turn red, but you can eat them like this. They're absolutely fine. I realised that I haven't saved any seeds from this plant yet, and I found a red chilli hiding in amongst the foliage. So I've picked that, and I'll be saving seeds for this plant because it's got a really gorgeous warming heat. It's not too hot, and it's just on the right side of being a bit spicy. So I'll dry them out and package them up ready to sow in February time. Back outside, let's have a look at the late sowing of radish that I made a couple of months ago. They're by no means huge, but a handful of these peppery delights give a great little hit to winter salads. I like them scattered over radicchio, crumbled blue cheese and walnuts, and then smothered in a lime, orange and honey dressing. So good. So that's it for this month. Thank you for joining me for part 5 of Allotment Diaries. Even though it's coming into winter, there's still so much to be done outside. So if you can, wrap up warm, pick a nice sunny cold day, get some exercise, doing some gardening. It's great for your mental health, great for your physical health. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care. Bye.